Hey everybody, welcome back to the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. I'm your host, Gordo Gambles. Welcome back to another full card breakdown, this time for the DraftKings perspective of the UFC 280 card. And I know this is weird. I don't have any editing going. I don't have any time to mess up and re-say what I'm trying to say. This is live. This is raw. And for a card like this, I had to bring on the big guns. Yesterday, we talked about this whole card from a betting perspective, a little bit of DFS, but mostly betting perspective with Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast. And for a DFS video like this, I brought on one of my bestest friends in this space, a guy who's got a really sharp mind for DFS, not only in the UFC realm of things, but also in NBA, NHL, all the above. And he's taking the time away from his Hawks game to come join us. So I say don't waste any time. Let's bring him in here. Mr. DFS Whisperer, EAZY. How we doing?
What's up, man? I'm doing good, doing good. You got a lot of heavy accolades for me right there. Now I really got to give out the winners this week.
You do, man. You do. A lot of pressure on you. And we look at this Iron Man standing sheet. And the last time we did a video together, I was at the top. You were right there. Yep. You've taken over. You're ahead of me now. And this is some this is a big slate to really cement that placement you got going there. So thank you for taking the time to join me. And what are your thoughts on this card?
Oh yeah, I need this slate to get back in number one. I haven't been number one for a while, but I have won the DraftKings contest twice. I don't think anybody has won 3 times yet. So UFC 280, not only am I winning the DraftKings contest this week, but I'm taking my spot back at number one.
All right. I look forward to seeing that. I will tell you something for a fact, though. Some hard luck. Filthy Frank has won 3 in first place, and he's 7 points ahead. So even if you win this one, he's still going to have the throne. So we need to win back-to-back. That's inspiration.
I'll catch him. I'll catch him.
All right. Well, as always, guys, we're going to talk about our favorite fights to target, our plays, and our fades, as the name suggests. I'm going to bring up the slate right here, and it's a good one. A lot of syllables in these names, a lot of very good fighters, and of course, we have ourselves a beautiful main event. So what I always do on this show is I always like to go first things first. My fight to target, which fight has the most ownership for me? It'd be rude for me not to let my guest go first. So what is the fight you're going to have the most ownership on this slate?
It has to be the main event. I mean, the price tags are great. You got $7,800 for Charles Oliveira, $8,400 for Islam Makhachev. This is the cheapest we'll ever see these two for a long, long time. So I want to capitalize on that. I'm slightly leaning on the Islam side of things right now, but man, either way you go, you just can't go wrong with this matchup. And if it somehow makes it 5 rounds, I hate stacking fights, but in cash, this fight could be one of those that both fighters, the winner and the loser, both score well. So yeah, I like targeting the main event.
And do you think it goes 5 rounds, or how do you see this fight going down?
Nah, I think at most we might see a 3rd round, but I just find it real hard to see this one going 5 rounds. It's either Islam really implements his game and forces Charles to, become a quitter again, which I'm not saying he's still that quitter. We're long past those days, but once Islam gets heavy on top of him, that might trigger some past demons. But if Charles Oliveira is winning, he's clipping Islam early. I really do think his path to victory is knockout.
All right. Well, I'll tell you this for a fact. I'm with you. That is the fight I'm targeting the most as well. I'm all over that main event. Personally, I think gun to my head, I'm taking Islam Makhachev. I think that he has the top control. He has the control time, the takedowns. But if you look at this from a DraftKings perspective, who's got the more finish equity early on? Who's got the more ability to go out there and put up 120 points? And for me, that's Charles Oliveira. Not only does he have the most submission wins in UFC history, but man, he has got some power. He's improved his boxing. He's improved his striking. And really, you could knock out anybody with that kind of power. He knocked down Justin Gaethje. He's got a lot of power success recently. And Makhachev has been finished. So although I am picking Makhachev to win, I understand the ceiling Oliveira has. And for that reason, I'm all over this fight from both sides. But if you look at another fight, I'll get a bit different here. And I have to talk about a fight to target being not only the most expensive fighter, but the unfortunate only Canadian on the card who also has my name and is the cheapest one. Oh, that's news to me. Hopefully that's not true. But anyways, I think the fight's still on. I'd have to assume so. Yeah, so sorry, that kind of threw me off guard there. Yeah, it's still on. Okay. Yeah, Malcolm Gordon versus Muhammad Mokaev. You have to think that this is a setup fight for Muhammad Mokaev. They're looking out here and they're thinking, okay, this guy's a very, very young prospect. He's gone out there. He's shown that he can go 3 rounds. He's shown he can finish early. And we really want to give him another win. Well, how do they do so? They put him up against one of the chinniest fighters in the UFC in Malcolm Gordon. I love the name. I love where he's from, but I'm not the biggest fan of his chin and durability. The one thing he does have, though, is a decent ground game, and I think that that's going to be his path to victory is catching Muhammad early. I just don't think it happens. I think Mokaev gets him out of there early on. First round finish for me. I think his ceiling is through the roof. Most expensive fighter on the slate, but for very, very good reason. All right, let's slow this thing down a bit. We talked about our favorite fight to target from both sides. Who's your favorite fighter to target on his own or her own?
It's hard not to say Mokaev, so let me get different. I'll say Caio Baralho, mainly because if he comes out here and goes on a wrestling heavy game plan once again, just takes down Muradov, takedown after takedown, or he could even lay and pray. Nowadays on DraftKings, lay and pray tends to outscore knockouts most of the time. So if I could get a 15-minute decision where we get like 3 to 6 takedowns and 10 minutes of control time from Caio Baralho, 9K, he could put up a really big score. And he does have upside to tap Muradov as well because we saw Gerald Mearshart do it. And funnily enough, I had Mearshart that day. He was the perfect punt on that slate. Ended up, kicking Muradov in the balls. Perfect strategy. Got me to win. So I'm going with Kyle Barrio here. Hopefully he kicks Muradov in the balls too and gets a submission.
I love Kyle Barrio, not only from a betting perspective this week, but as a fighter in general. What I like the most about him is he's just so smart. He has his ability to see the game as a whole, and he can take people down at will. He's got a great way of blending his strikes through his takedowns, and he does it very, very well. I think he's got this fight, the takedown upside, the even finish upside, and I really do like him this week. But if I got to give another option here for both cash and GPP, I don't mind Manon Ferriot. French woman. She's shown she's got skills. She's facing the Chook train this week, but I don't think that's going to be a problem for her. Not only in cash with a pretty high ceiling in women's MMA, but I think she's got finish capability here. Her nickname is the Beast, and she exemplifies it. She's strong. She's durable. She's got a good wrestling and takedown game. She's got amazing striking too. And although Chukakins have this ability to win fights due to volume and grunting, she's not going to have that same ability here because Ferriot is going to be the stronger girl, more physical, better length, better strength, better power. And I do think she's actually able to finish her here. If she can't do so, she'll mix in some takedowns. She's got 2 takedowns against Bueno Silva's, 2 takedowns against Maya. Those are against people with very good ground games. Chukagin doesn't have that same ground game. She could probably take her down at will if she wants, but she's got that striking advantage. I think she's going to use it, but I don't mind her at all. But in order to get those expensive fighters, we got to talk about a dog. I'm going to steal this one first. I'm going to talk about my dog first. We're going Omar Gatsiev, and this is with a little asterisk at the top. This is like a wait real quick before you roster him in all lineups because we have to see how he's doing making this weight class for the very first time. With that being said, though, if we look at this fight, especially from a stylistic matchup, not only is Abubakar known for choking fights and throwing them away, but Gotze, I think, is really just going overlooked here. I think that Baralho is a tough matchup. I wouldn't expect him to win, and it was really close. I think that opened up evens, right? So that fight is pretty close. And now he's going out here and he's being a 7.5K underdog against a guy in Abubakar who has problems on the ground, who isn't the most deadly striker. And I do think he has some good paths to victory here. I think Gotze's going a bit overlooked. I think he's going to have the size advantage in the spot if the weight cut isn't too bad. $7,500, I think, is just way too low for a fighter I see winning this fight. So I even see him getting a submission. I think the takedowns finish is also there, but I just think he's got a pretty good floor for someone at that price range. But what about you? Who's your favorite dog of the week?
Man, you stole that one right from me. But another guy I was really looking at is Lucas Almeida. I really wanted to say TJ Dillashaw, but I'm a big Aljo fan. I know Aljo is not everybody's favorite, but I'm just finding it hard picking against Aljo this week, even though TJ has a lot of great upside on the DraftKings side of things. But Lucas Almeida, I just think he might knock out Tuhugov. I'm not a Tuhugov fan. He's not very high volume, and he just doesn't really do much. Lucas Almeida came in and knocked out Chazanov. I mean, that's worth noting, and he will out volume to Hugov. He does have the power, and at 7,900, I feel like I'm picking 2 underdogs this week. I'll be taking Lucas Almeida, and most likely either trying to fit in Gotsi for that wrestling upside, or I might even take a shot on AJ Dobson. But yeah, Lucas Almeida is my favorite dog right now.
Okay, well, I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate. I'm with you. I'm rostering Lucas Almeida. He has a pretty good ceiling here. But what I will say is Zuberto Hugov is my sneaky contrarian play of the week because just for like you mentioned, everyone's on Almeida and no one's on to Hugov. I get it. He's not the most exciting fighter. He's kind of slows people down. He kind of makes people fight his own style. But what he has is wrestling in his back pocket, and Almeida has been shown to be taken down. I think that Tuhugov not only has the ability to wrestle and put up a decent score at very low ownership, but he's got power in his own right. Almeida, even though he did finish Trezano last time out, he's also dropped by Trezano, which is not always the best look. So I do think that you want this fight one way or the other, whether taking that huge ceiling on Almeida with that knockout power, who has 100% finish rate, or taking the lower owned contrarian play Zubair Tugov. I think it's a really sneaky fight to target both sides. But we'll move on. I think another person we want to talk about too, we haven't mentioned this yet, the co-main event. I know you're a Sterling fan. The 7.7K price tag on TJ Dillashaw is too hard to overlook. I told myself I wasn't going to bet this fight, but man, if we look at the score this man is putting up in a 5-round fight, you have to think that 7.7K, it's too cheap. He has striking. He has a very good, well-rounded game. He hasn't really been controlled recently, which is how Sterling won his last fight. So if you give me a guy in TJ Dillashaw who has these competencies, his ability to win these fights in later round as well, you have to think I'm going to roster him because this fight could look very much like the Barao fight with a 5th-round knockout. I would not be surprised at all. Do you think that Aljamain Sterling can be able to get these takedowns and get control time and win that way? Or do you think Dillashaw is going to be able to stuff them, keep it upright, and piece them up?
Man, if you look at Dillashaw's his record in general, only the best of the best have been taking him down. And Aljo, if he doesn't get the takedowns early, it's going to be very, very, very interesting. So my heart says Aljo, but my wallet says TJ Dillashaw. So I'll say there's a good chance we might have a new champion in Abu Dhabi.
All right. I'll take that. I am really high on Dillashaw on DraftKings. From betting side of things, I'm not playing this fight because, I mean, both these guys could have lost their last fight if judges saw it differently. I actually scored each one of their last fights to the other fighter. So what does that line look like then? I don't know. But at 7.7K, the upside is huge for TJ Dillashaw. Okay, we're rounding it out here. I want to talk about a couple more fights. Before we do, though, cash play. Is there anybody that you're loving must roster in cash?
Peter Yan,
Okay.
Mohamed Mokayev, but Peter Yan for sure. I think Yan's gonna wrestle from out the gate. So, and if he wrestles, O'Malley just has nothing for him there. Peter Yan, 9,300, first person in my cash lineup.
All right. I don't blame you at all. And you know what? I've talked about this fights many times. Although Peter Yan is the guy I'm picking to win this fight, don't get me wrong, I would not be surprised if Sugar Sean O'Malley is able to steal some rounds. He's a very technical striker. I think he's got the range here. He's got the ability to find the target a lot of the time. And he just finds this way to really be the more accurate striker and minute winner. I still think Peter Yan's a better fighter. I still think he wins, but I would not be surprised if Sugar Sean O'Malley could eke out a split decision. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it is very questionable, but I don't mind that shot for cash. For me, not only am I on the Firio side in cash and Baralio, I don't mind Gamrot. I think that Gamrot's someone who, although I do like Dariush, I don't see Dariush finishing Gamrot. I think that he has a really high floor in this spot, not only with the ability to stuff takedowns, get takedowns of his own right, but be a very technical, powerful striker. Would not put it past him to knock out Dariush with that power as well. And I do think that he did win this fight. So he could theoretically be 22-0. I think not only does he have a very good floor, but he puts up consistently good DraftKings points, lots of power. I think he wins this fight here. And at his price tag, I think he's got a decent floor, a good enough chance to make the optimal lineup. But a couple more questions for before we go. One related to DFS, one not related to DFS. Okay. First question related to DFS. It's the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. Is there anybody you are fading this week?
Fade. Nurmagomedov. I just don't think he scores high enough for his price tag, even if he wins. And I really, really do like Gotzi in that spot. So I'll be fading Abubakar Nurmagomedov.
Don't blame me. I'll probably be fading him as well. Yeah, you stole that one from me. So I'm going to pretend like I said that one. I'm going to skip over it too. Probably fading
Another
Chuk
one.
and Landsberg as well.
There you
Go
go.
ahead.
I was gonna say that Landsberg and Carol Rosa fight, even though Carol Rosa could be a sneaky play this week. It's just the $9,200 price tag. It makes it hard.
All right. Well, that wraps it. We talked about almost every fight. Don't worry. We'll cover the ones we haven't talked about yet. But before we do, I need your thoughts on a non-DFS related question. Throw DFS out the window for this one. Who do you have winning between Sean Brady and Bilal Muhammad?
Bilal Muhammad, but I'm super biased. I'm a Bilal Muhammad fan, and but then again, too, I gotta rope it in with the DFS. If Bilal Muhammad wins at 8K, you will want him on your lineup. But I just feel like Bilal Muhammad could land those takedowns because I think Sean Brady wouldn't mind grappling here, and Bilal could just lay and pray for 3 rounds. So I'll take Bilal Muhammad. I know that's not a popular take this week.
Certainly is not, man. But you know what? Actually, sorry, what am I saying? Bilal Muhammad is actually a very popular take this week
Oh,
in terms of
really?
betting, but not on DraftKings. So it's a fight where I think that they could be so physically on par with each other for the wrestling that they just stand and bang and who can get to the strike first. And Bilal Muhammad may be able to win it. Don't know how necessarily high it scores on DraftKings, so I just thought I'd get your opinion there. But before I take over and wrap out the rest of the card, is there anything else you want to get out in terms of your DraftKings plays?
Uh, we pretty much nailed everybody. I really like Gamrot too, Peter Yan. I wish we had more 7K options to go at because the top end of this slate is really, really good. But I like Gotzi, I like Lucas Almeida. Then everybody else is more of 50-50 or 55-45 on. So but yeah, I think I was able to get everybody out that I wanted.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll just go over quickly the rest of the card. We talked about Makai, we talked about Yan. Carol Rosa versus Landsberg. I think that Rosa has a good floor for cash. I see her winning this fight a lot of the time, and she does put out decent volume. A finish also wouldn't be out of the question. The only problem you have with Carol Rosa is how easy it is to get to her because you have people like Makayev who have these insane ceilings. You have people like Yan who should win this fight as well. It's just hard for me to get to her 9.2K, but I think she's a solid cash option. Petrosian versus Dobson. We didn't talk about this one, but I do think that a finish is probably most likely here. Either Dobson early or Petrosian later. If Dobson wins this fight, it's going to be optimal. 7.1K. Finish ability is through the roof. I don't mind targeting this fight from both sides. The problem with Petrosian, again, is just getting to him. Talked about Barali, talked about Furio. The one last fight we haven't talked about is the Nikita Krylov versus Uzdemir fight. Another really sneaky fight to target Krylov. Although he went to the third round in his first UFC fight, went 14 fights consecutive with fights ending in the first or second round. Yes, 14 fights. His first 15 fights in the UFC have ended inside the distance, and 17 of his 19 total fights have ended inside the distance, which is insane. He's also a decent target. I think at 8.6K, he's got a decent ceiling as well. But he's right above Makachev. He's right below Gamrot and stuff like that. It's hard for me to get to him as well. But that's going to do it for me here on the Plays and Fades YouTube channel. We've covered the whole card from a draft perspective under 20 minutes. So hopefully that's enough for you guys to hit the like button down below and subscribe to the channel. I got some good news for you, Easy. Your team has pulled off the win. They won by 10 points. The Hawks are 1-0 to start the season. And with that in mind, tell everybody where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at DFS Whispers, TikTok at DFS Whispers as well, and on YouTube, the DFS Whispers. We post content for everything: MMA, NBA, NFL, WNBA when that's around, and I do have a buddy that I'll be doing NHL content with too. So hopefully we could get Gordo on a couple of NHL slates as well.
Awesome, for sure. I really appreciate that. And guys, when they say they do everything, they really do everything. So thank you for taking the time to come talk fights with me. It is an amazing card. And this was fun, instead of taking the time for me to edit the video, this is raw. This is exactly what we're thinking at the time. I can't go back in my things and edit it. This is exactly what we're thinking. And hopefully we portrayed our thoughts appropriately. Guys, now's the time. Show some love to Easy. Check out my other content. I posted a full card breakdown on this channel yesterday. DM me on Twitter if you got any questions at GamblesGordo. And with that, guys, enjoy the fights. Make sure to set your alarms for an early card, and let's make some money, guys. Peace.